Hello and welcome to my channel, the place where I take you on RV tours, campground tours, to hiking destinations, and so much more. Now, in a previous video, I showed how easy it was to install an EcoFlow power station into the back of my B-Class van. This simple installation has proven to be one of the best modifications I have done because it instantly gave my van an easily modifiable and completely reversible lithium system. I can now park anywhere for days or longer, in a parking lot or off-grid, and power everything without needing to start my generator. But that's not even the best part of this modification. The really cool part of this modification is how flexible, upgradable, and modifiable this system is, while still being completely and easily reversible. In this video, I'm going to show you just how flexible this modification is, and then show how I was able to add over 22,000 kilowatt hours of power in my small B-Class van. So let's get started. Instead of going through the entire installation of the EcoFlow again, I'll attach the video link above and in the video description. For today's video, you just need to know that I added a 30 amp outlet and plug in line after the transfer switch in my previous video. Here it is. For the ease of viewing, I have removed my sofa. The power comes out of the transfer switch into the outlet and then back to the breaker box in the RV. This is the same pathway the power followed before I added the outlet. The difference is now you can easily add a power station to your RV. I'll show you what I mean in a minute, but first let's briefly discuss what's inside most power stations. Inside, they contain a lithium battery charger, an inverter, an MPPT solar charge controller, and a battery management system with app capabilities. Usually, the more battery power a power station has, the more input and output options you get, and the more expensive it is. For example, here's an inexpensive Dabson 3000L power station that has all the basic elements I just mentioned. It has a 30 amp outlet, a 3072 watt-hour lithium battery, an 1800 watt lithium battery charger, a 3000 watt inverter, a single 12 to 60 volt MPPT solar charge controller, and a BMS. On the other hand, inside the much more expensive EcoFlow is a 4096 watt-hour lithium battery, a bidirectional 4000 watt inverter with 1800 watt lithium battery charger, 2 MPPT solar charge controllers, and a battery management system. The EcoFlow also has a couple of expansion ports that allows for adding their expansion batteries or for alternator charging. As you'll see in a few minutes, the more input ports, the better. So now that you understand what's inside a power station, let's put the Dabson into the RV. As you can see, it was easy to install. I simply took the 30 amp power cord going into the breaker box and plugged it into the power station, and then plugged the power station into the 30 amp outlet using this 30 amp to 20 amp adapter. Now the van has 3072 watt hours of off-grid lithium power being provided by the Dabson 3000L. Also, the Dabson allows for pass-through power and will now get charged every time the RV is connected to shore power. Just think about that. I can now run everything inside this RV without being connected to shore power and without starting the generator. Plus, the Dabson is compact, leaving plenty of room inside this small garage space. Of course, you may be thinking that you want more than 3072 watt hours of power. Okay, here is a 51.2 volt 105 amp hour Vevor lithium battery. I attached a terminal fuse and an XT60i cable to the battery and plugged it into the solar port on the back of the Dabson. I now have added 5,376 watt hours to the Dabson and have a total of 8,448 watt hours. And if you still want more power, okay, I have added another Vevor 51.2 volt 105 amp hour battery and connected it in parallel with the first battery, added the terminal fuse and XT60i cable, and plugged it into the Dabson solar port. Now the Dabson effectively has almost 14,000 kilowatt hours of power. Also, as an added benefit, now that you have added a couple of 48-volt batteries, you can run 48-volt equipment such as a 48-volt AC unit. If I add in a 48-volt charger and plug it into the 20-amp adapter, we now have a lithium system that will charge both Vevor batteries and the Dabson every time it gets plugged into shore power. Now, if you want to charge this system with solar, add in a 48-volt MPPT solar charge controller, and you can now charge the Vevor batteries with solar. Not sure you want to fill your entire garage with batteries? Let's do something different instead. In another video, I showed you how I added a Cloud Energy 51.2 volt 100 amp hour wall mounted server rack battery behind the driver's seat and added an XT60i cable to that battery. Simply plug that into the back of the Dabson, and now you have 8,448 watt hours of power and still have plenty of garage space. Want even more power without taking up more garage space? I now have a Cloud Energy 150 amp hour battery. Let's go ahead and replace the 100 amp hour battery I mounted behind the driver's seat with the 150 amp hour battery. Now, if I plug that battery into the Dabson, I have almost 11,000 watt hours of power and still have plenty of garage space. By now, you're probably seeing why I think this is one of my favorite modifications. Of course, there's some limitations to using a budget-friendly power station. One of them is that the Dabson only has one solar input and no expansion battery input. So even though the Dabson does allow for alternator charging, it uses the same solar input port for alternator charging that I'm already using. Another limitation is that the maximum input through Dabson solar port is 1200 watts. So let's go ahead and install the EcoFlow so you can see some of the key differences. As you can see, the EcoFlow is much larger and requires more space, but the fact that it has two solar inputs means that I can plug both the two Vevor batteries connected in parallel into one solar input and install the Cloud Energy 150 amp hour battery into the other solar port. This setup equates to over 22,000 watt hours of power. However, this power station also allows for 800 watts of alternator charging through one of its expansion ports and allows for 2,600 watts through its solar ports. Of course, I could also add a solar charge controller to charge the lithium batteries as well. So as you can see, power stations are a great way to upgrade your RV's power system to allow for unplugged freedom, whether you're parked in the parking lot or off-grid in the middle of nowhere. So I hope this video provided you with some ideas as to how you can upgrade the power system in your RV. Thank you so much for spending some time with me, and don't forget to subscribe to my channel if you haven't already to join me for many more videos. Thank you so much for watching. Bye for now.